ones and twos. And I just come here to let y'all know it's about to get real filthy in this mother.
Welcome to episode 51 of In Todd We Trust. You can now access the podcast at itwtpodcast.com for spoiler-free one-sentence reviews and movie ratings, episode descriptions, Song of the Week playlist, movie soundtrack playlist, and a submission form to be a guest on the show. You can listen to the podcast, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts on Thursdays, and then watch on YouTube the same day. Right, we got Matt Elowiki, aka just Elowiki. I don't know if I ever just call you Matt. I always call you Elowiki. You got former Spartan Dog and current founder and CEO of Simple.
Yes, sir.
So I know we were chatting a bit before, and I was thinking, okay, a lot of people might not know what Simple is. So do you want to explain what Simple is?
Yeah, I will. So pretty much for Michigan State students, Michigan State for students, it's a D2L alternative. A social learning platform that really encourages students to figure out who their classmates are and set up study groups together on campus. So like if you remember D2L, it's clunky. You know, it takes 20 steps to get from like point A to point B just to figure out what the homework is. And so the idea was to make an app that's on the phone. It makes it easier for students to access what's due the next day, what exams are coming up for the week, and then also pinpoint who their classmates are. Also because Michigan State has large 700-person classes, so it's hard to figure out who you're learning with. And so in putting all that information in a platform, it makes it easier for students to figure out who their classmates are, set up a study group on campus, and invite people to come and join them. So,
yeah, it's clutch. I mean, I wish we definitely had that like back then, because you kind of incorporated a lot of the good things or aspects of like different apps. So you had like, Study Blue, or like that was a decent one, or like, you're looking up like professor ratings and like that, house all that. Yeah, Koofers, I couldn't even remember the name of it. But yeah, you house all that in one spot. And then like you said, like, okay, let's do a study group, like let's take it another step, and then like let's just communicate, let's stay on this one app. So that's smart. I mean, I think the best apps are ones where you can kind of combine a couple different ideas and keep them all in one place instead of redirecting them to different apps or
make it simple.
Make it simple. Make it simple. It's a reason for the name. When did you start that? What year was that? Was that 2016?
2016.
Okay.
So I graduated in 2017 because of football. So I called it my junior year. That's when I started. The idea, I put out a version of it. It was very early. I had like 300 students use it. And once I graduated in 2017, I started working full time on it.
Nice.
And I've been working full time since.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. And I know things are going well. We were chatting about it before, but definitely check that out. If you're listening to me and you go to Michigan State, or just interested in it in general, just interested in different tech startups and everything like that, definitely look up Simple on Instagram, online and everything like that, just to read more about it. So you are officially from, not officially, what am I trying to say? Initially from Detroit.
Yeah, I am.
And officially, I guess. But yeah, from Detroit. What part of Detroit did you grow up in?
The west side of Detroit.
Okay, got you.
And then my family, we moved out to Southfield when I was younger, but majority of my time was still spent in the city.
Okay.
I went to school out there. The jobs that I worked was all in Detroit.
Yeah. Got you. And I've been here better part of 2 years now, almost a full 2 years. I like Detroit. I like Detroit a lot. It's crazy how it's come up and just how it's changed from my perception of it before to now, but then also how it actually has changed in the past years, just from what people have told me, and I've learned more about the history since I've lived here.
Especially in the last 2 years, it's changed a whole lot.
Yeah,
even down to seeing people jogging at night around Belle Isle.
Bro,
people going to the Coney Island 1 a.m. by themselves.
Yeah, people are telling me like that was a no-go before.
No.
That's no, like, I mean, I feel completely safe. I live off of Cass and basically off of Woodward and Alexandrine is where I live. So right by the Slows to Go. So that's where I live, and I jog around. Like last year I was training for the Big 10K.
Okay.
So I'd get up. I mean, and I'm weird where I'll get like a surge to run or something like that at like 11 o'clock at night and stuff.
Weird.
So yeah, I get like this feeling like, all right, like it'll be like 10:45, and thought I was like about to go to sleep, and I'll be like, nah, I feel like running. So I'll get up and do that. And again, like if it was 10 years ago, that might not have been the smartest move to do that.
No.
But I felt completely safe running around Wayne State's campus. Probably still not safe to do now, just because it's not safe. But I felt completely safe running around Wayne State's campus during the summer or whatever. So. And
it's a whole lot safer. For me, it's just one of those things. Like me and my friends, we back in high school would spend a lot of our time out here, like partying, just hanging out. And so I still kind of have that perception. Yeah,
you have that reservation. Yeah.
Yeah, and still knowing that, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
just be careful. Yeah,
exactly.
And I think whenever you go to a place that you're not familiar with, just in general, be careful. In general, be careful. But then also, when you're going to a neighborhood you're not super familiar with, or you were familiar with it before, it became safe. It's always good to have that. Have that. I guess for me, when I'm running, I'm like, yo, someone's gonna have to work hard to catch me. Like, I'm warmed up right now. Now you get to the end of those like couple miles, you're like, all right, if someone try to get me now, I'm just done because my legs are spent. So. If they run up on me, they just run up. I'm just going down. Going down.
Nah, but it's good. It's good out here. It's definitely a whole lot different from before. It's safer out here.
Yeah. If you be like, man, I was waiting on him to do the podcast, and you don't hear from me, man. They got me. Song of the week.
Song of the week. Okay. Kanye West, Can't Tell Me Nothing.
Okay.
I thought about that.
It's a classic. Yeah.
It's a classic, but it's honestly one of my. Like, I can't remember what I was watching yesterday, but it was another interview where somebody asked the person, like, what was a song that kind of stuck out to you that made them want to, like, further their career as far as music goes. Yeah. But, like, for me, I remember when that song came out, I don't know what it was specifically, but just, like, the way that he was able to get his point across, like, he was talking with full-on confidence. Oh, yeah. He even said something in there like, they say I talk with so much what do you say? I think I talk with so much confidence.
So much emphasis. Ooh, they're so sensitive.
Yeah. Stuff in that song just really sticks out to me, especially like as an entrepreneur. It stuck out a whole lot more.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of my favorite Kanye lines is what now is it one of my favorites if I can't think of it?
You on the spot though.
I know, right? I'm on the spot. I put myself on the spot. I didn't have to say it. Something about my self-esteem, but use my arrogance as esteem to power my dream. Yeah.
Use the what do you say?
But yeah, that line though is that's use my arrogance as esteem to power my dream. Like that's one of my favorite lines because it's like you don't like you want to always stay humble and not allow like your pride or arrogance to take over, but I just thought it was interesting, like, his story is obviously where he came from being a producer, and then, like, the famous story of, like, Cameron and the other people on Def Jam and Rock, like, just putting him down, like, bro, you can't rap, like, stick to making beats. And then now he's way bigger than any of those guys, minus Hove, obviously, any of those guys were or are. Right. So it's just like, he always was super confident and cocky in himself. So it's like he used that, to get to the point where he's at now. So I do respect that, and, I mean, I've canceled Kanye probably like the rest of the nation for a while now. I haven't been a Kanye fan it's not like his recent antics. Like Kanye just does stuff for attention, so I don't pay any attention to it. Right. But like, I probably stopped being a huge Kanye fan probably like 10 years ago. But it's still like those first like 3-4 albums. It's like that's my childhood, so it's like that stuff is still gonna be classic no matter what he does.
And that line specifically, it's like that I think speaks to his journey and like most of the journey people go through when they want to be great. It's like for a lot of the time we take the humble route, and like we surround ourselves with people who have like what it is that we want. But at the same time we lose sight that like this is the real world. So like people will walk over you as long as you allow them to. But it's like as long as you stay genuine and true to the grind and like the journey, which is what I feel like he did. You have those kind of revelations where it's like I could be humble, but I need to use, my arrogance in a strategic way to just get what I want. So, absolutely. I like Kanye. He says a lot of controversial stuff, but I'm not gonna lie. I feel some of the stuff that he says, not everything, but some of the stuff he says, it makes sense to me.
Well, he's definitely said some things that I'm like, okay, I rock with that. Sometimes, a lot of times with certain people, it's just the delivery. Delivery and timing is everything a lot of times.
You can hear a whole lot of pain and like confusion and like just I don't even know in his voice.
So that's the thing is that sometimes people, their message gets lost because of how they say it or when they say it, and it's like, ooh, that just wasn't the right time, or you could have phrased that a little differently, and we would have been rocking with you. So I get it. But like you gotta take a step back. But yeah, I mean, Kanye's still Kanye, man. Like he's still up there, he's still a legend. You know, regardless of when he's doing or saying wild stuff.
Right.
My song of the week is "So Good" by Omar Apollo. So he so I've heard his name like buzzing around a little bit like throughout this year. Whether it's like Spotify kind of pumping him up a little bit. Like they always have, like they'll make someone like the face of like some of their playlists, and it's like that's their way of kind of giving them some pub. I don't know how that comes about, but anyway, I do like this song. It's like a cool vibe, like bop, like music, just kind of like you clean the house, like a good jam like that.
Okay.
So but listen to that.
I'll be cleaning the house like gospel music.
Yeah, that's how I was growing up, man. Like growing up, I didn't have an option. Like what we were listening to gospel music or like I don't know. I'm trying to think of like Motown.
Right.
Like that's it. Those are two options. But it was no cussing in the music. It was no, So yeah. Random rapid fire coming up here.
Okay.
So it's 9 questions that you have no prep for.
Okay.
Game time. The deep side, always before I go into this round. Okay. What was your dream car? Or what is your dream car?
I'm not gonna lie, growing up I always wanted a Pontiac G8. I don't know what it was. But like when I was young, I always wanted a Pontiac G8. I don't know what it was, but now I want like a 68 Mustang.
Okay.
Like a old school.
Okay,
like
old school,
car.
yeah.
You hear me coming.
Okay.
And like also you kind of get out of my way.
That's a little bit cooler, yeah. That's a little bit cooler than the Pontiac. I wanted a Mustang too growing up. Mustang was my like car growing up. That I'm like, that's what I want. And I still feel like even though I'm not like a super flashy dude at all, I think that I still kind of want a Mustang just because it's like accomplishing that thing from when I was a kid that I always wanted. Like at some point, that has to be one of the cars I get.
And it's one of those light, like it's flashy only because of the history of the car.
Right.
It's not like a Lamborghini where it looks like a spaceship. Like
you're right.
It's a nice classic looking car.
They're doing electric Mustangs too. I just saw news on that the other day. Yeah,
I wouldn't do it.
No,
I personally wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. What color is your dream car? What color would it be? Red. Yeah, got to go with the red. What's the fastest you've ever gone in a car?
My mom gonna be mad. A lot of people are gonna be mad, but like I would probably push like 110.
110. Moving. Have you ever? So there's this made me just think about this. So right out of college, I moved to Vegas. And I was in Vegas for 6 months.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so right out of college, I went to Vegas for an internship. And then I would make the drive from Vegas to LA a lot. I was just thinking about this the other day for whatever reason. But that drive is a lot of just like, there's a points where you're just straight ahead and you can't even see as far as you have to drive because it's flat and it's just desert on both sides. And like, I'm talking like there's like 30 miles on in where there's no exits, no nothing. So if you run out of gas or it's nighttime, it's over. Like I know there's dead bodies buried out there somewhere. It has to be, bro. Like the mob has to have a ton of dead bodies out there. But when you're driving, it's just like, there's points where it's just you. It's no other cars on the road. It's just straight away. And you could easily push something crazy on that.
How fast did you push it?
I never did. I mean, I was always like, no, I just play it safe. But in hindsight, now I'm like, yo, you can kind of go crazy on this road if you really wanted to.
I'm a bad driver too. To throw that out, like everybody that knows me, like they will not give me the keys. Like
you must really be a bad driver because most people don't admit that. Especially men. Most men not gonna admit that they can't drive.
I mean, I was T-boned a couple of times, so I think there's a little trauma there. And it's just something about driving that is nerve-wracking to me. Probably the people, knowing I can't control the people around me.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the people around you. But in this case, it sounds like it might be you, man. I might gotta watch out when you behind the wheel. Have you ever street raced with someone?
Yeah,
I'm just getting you in trouble.
Sean, right?
Yeah. So Sean is in the room right now. Who won?
We had to. All right, I'm gonna tell this story. We had to stop because we're leaving school. I'm with the U of D, so it's right there on 7 Mile. We're coming down here. He lives like right around the corner from here. It was his parents' house, and so we're driving on the freeway. We come off on his exit, and as soon as we turn to the right, it's Motor City Casino, but there's a cop car, like 2 cop cars and a whole bunch of police, like right outside of the car. And we're going fast, coming off the exit. And so I look to the right, and then I look straight ahead. Sean had stopped. And so I'm like, dang, I slammed on my brakes. and you hear a screech, and then I smacked the back of his car.
No.
And so I'm like, dang. I look over to the right. I see Sean look over to the right, and the cop's just looking. And so he takes off. He skirts off. I skirt off right behind him. We pull right up to his crib. He had one of those Oldsmobiles, so it was metal.
Yeah.
Like, nothing happened to his car. My car had a little chip in the bumper.
Yeah.
I go home, and my parents like, what is this? Like, what happened to the car? I'm like, oh, it was parked, and somebody smacked it. I came out in his head. But that was the one time I can remember. That was the one time I can remember drag racing.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's like such a high school story. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's such a high school kid, something to do. It's some of the stuff you think about. Like, I think about, like, why did I do? Why would I even think to? How do we even think to do some stuff?
Bro, I hurt my head thinking about everything we did back in high school.
It's just dumb stuff, man. Would you rather work for Ford or Ferrari?
Ferrari. I would say Ferrari.
Favorite Detroit auto company?
GM.
GM.
I come from a GM family.
Okay, and we right by GM too, so we're right by them right now. Have you ever fallen off a moped? Let's take it back to the college days.
Oh my goodness. Another story. I'm gonna keep this one short. My roommate freshman year. Now you remember the crack chicken spot?
Oh yeah.
We used to go to the one
Eastside?
all the way in Lansing though.
Oh.
Yes, and so it's snowing on the ground.
Is that one better than Eastside?
It's about the same, but we just knew about that one first.
Oh, before. Okay, got you.
And so every Wednesday we would go out there after tutoring.
Yeah.
And we ride mopeds.
Who was your roommate freshman year?
Paul Andrew.
Hey, that's right. Paul was your roommate.
Remember, he had the nice moped.
Yeah, he did.
And so one Sunday, Jack Conklin.
Yeah,
he let me borrow
I saw
his
Jack
moped.
last weekend.
For real?
Yeah.
How's he doing?
He doing all right. He came to that U of M game.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were chatting. That's the first time I seen him in a minute.
I know he's doing good.
He doing
though.
real well, yeah.
But he let me borrow his moped so that we can go to the crack chicken spot.
Yeah, Jack's too big for a moped anyway.
Way too big. I don't even think he ever rode it. Honestly, it looked brand new.
Yeah.
It looked brand new. And so it was snowing, like not at the time, but it was winter time. And so it had just snowed. There was some ice on the ground, but it wasn't too bad.
Right.
And so we're driving, we're on the way back, and it was the same type of situation. Like, Paul had stopped. It was over there by Riverwalk.
Yeah.
You know how you can either go straight to continue towards campus, or you can turn left and like go down Michigan
Yes.
Ave.
Yep.
It was at that crosswalk. Paul had stopped. It was another one of those, like, I look down or somewhere, and as soon as I look up, it's like the moped is on his side, his foot's on the ground, and he's like looking at me. And so I slam on the brake, but I hit a patch of ice and fall. And when I say, like, I skid in my palm, my arm, Jack's whole side of his moped was scratched up. His mirror was broken off.
Dang.
I'm like, man. And when I say I was ready to walk that moped the whole rest of the way. That would have been at least like 40, 50 minutes.
Right.
I was ready to walk
in
that
the
thing.
cold. Oh man.
But Jack was pissed.
I know he was, man. That's hilarious.
That's
man.
my time. That's my one time falling off of a moped.
I fell off twice. I had a moped. I fell off once. No one was around. It was in the parking lot. I was riding my moped to the car, and I made it all the way to the parking lot. Because we always have the little far parking lots that we got to park our car in. Pull in. It's a whole bunch of black ice. And I felt like it was one of those, like, I felt like I was sliding for like minutes. Just slide. Like, I wasn't even hurt. It just was salty that I was sliding. Other time, it was in slow motion. Like, I just came up, there was a bunch of snow, and I just like tipped over. But it was a girl walking past. So I had to play it off like, she's like, you good? I was in so much pain. I was like, yeah. I was like, no, I'm good. Try to pop up all quick. Ankle was hurt for like 2 weeks. Like, I was like, no, I'm cool.
That's the worst. The injuries afterwards.
The injury,
walk it off. And
the embarrassment and injuries. It's like, I was waiting for her to just keep walking so I can limp in peace. Go to slushy flavor when you go to the theater.
Red.
If you had to rewatch the same movie for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Coach Carter.
That was quick. Quick.
Bro, listen, Coach Carter is one of my favorite movies. Like, it's hard for me to pick my favorite. Yeah. But like, if I had to in a do or die situation, I could watch Coach Carter forever. Like, I feel like it embodies every important thing about life. Into one movie. That's big words. Coach Carter is a good movie though. Coach Carter is a real good movie. Hands down. All right, so getting into this movie. Ford versus Ferrari. IMDb description here is American car designer Carroll Shelby and driver Ken Miles battle corporate interference.
the laws of physics and their own personal demons to build a revolutionary race car for Ford and challenge Ferrari at the 24 Hour of Le Mans in 1966. Release date, the 15th of November, this previous weekend. Notable cast, Matt Damon, Christian Bale, and John Bernthal. Like all three of those guys a lot. Director, James Mangold, who also did The Wolverine and Logan. If you listen to the podcast a lot, or at least to my episodes about superheroes, you know that Wolverine is like top 3 superheroes of all time. So love those movies. Main writer for the movie, Jez Butterworth, what a name, who did Spectre, the 007 movie a couple years back, and Edge of Tomorrow. Spectre was okay. Edge of Tomorrow I didn't finish because it sucked.
I haven't watched a James Bond movie since, I think, Die Another Day.
Yeah, it's too many of them, man. That's way too many.
It's corny. I feel like it's corny now.
It is too. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. How do you keep making it? I don't know. It's crazy.
James Bond was a thing. Me and my dad, like, we would watch all the old.
Yeah, my dad used to watch the old ones. Yeah,
Dalton, seeing all of those, but it's just corny now.
It's too much. Like, it's just like, all right, like, yeah, it's whatever. Runtime for this movie was 2 hours and 32 minutes, which made me a little nervous at first because when you see the super long movies, you're like, man, we about to be in here all day. Are they going to make it drag? Which it didn't, which I'll talk about here. So going into the movie, what were you thinking prior to walking into the theater, just off of the trailer, reading about it? What were your thoughts?
I thought I was going into like a pure racing movie. Like it was going to be like a NASCAR type movie that I wouldn't understand. Yeah. Like beyond just seeing cars go fast and seeing somebody win a race. Right. Like it was a whole lot deeper than that.
It really was, man. So going into it, so wait, first of all, before I even talk about what I was thinking about going into the movie, why are they making another Jumanji? They need to not make another Jumanji, man.
They're making too many follow-up movies to classics that they don't need to make.
Like the Robin Williams one, great. I love Robin Williams. They did not need to make another Jumanji with The Rock and Kevin Hart.
No.
That first Jumanji that they did together, I go on record as saying top 3 worst movies I've ever paid money for in theater. Because I have a pretty good radar of like, don't go. And I knew better on that one. I did know better, but I went anyway.
Right.
Maybe one of the worst movies I paid money to go see. And if I hadn't paid so much, I went and saw it in Chicago. If I hadn't paid so much, I would have walked out. But it was like $13. It was like $16 by the end of it. So I was like, nah, I'm staying. I'm watching this movie.
I've had 2 movies that made me walk out.
Yeah, which ones?
It was Avatar, which I know a lot of people like that movie. Yeah, but
for Avatar's come up. I think the last 3 episodes, or this episode. Not last episode, and the 2 before that came up.
That's one of the best movies?
No, it just come up in conversation for whatever reason. It's funny.
I hated it. I walked out.
Carrie hated it. TR was saying how he liked it, and then you hate it. That's so funny.
and then 22 Mile. I think that movie came out last year with Mark Wahlberg. It was like some CIA movie.
Oh, okay.
The trailers look sweet, but like when I say I fell asleep probably 3 times.
Wait, did I watch that?
You probably did. It was a pretty big marketed movie.
Yeah, it was whack. It was whack. I know exactly. Yeah, I watched that over Thanksgiving maybe or something like that for whatever reason. I just happened I watched on TV.
It was terrible.
Yeah, it was not good. Yeah, so I don't know why they're doing the Jumanji. Also, this old dude in the theater kept walking around during this movie, which was annoying me. I don't know I don't know if his legs were he just need to get some blood flowing or what.
Probably.
But he kept. I don't know. But I was
like, the cane at home.
I don't like people walking behind me. Like he's just walking behind. I'm like, bro, you don't. I sit in the back for.
You gotta get that blood circulating.
Yeah, he was about to. Yeah. No, I don't even say nothing mean. But yeah, so I didn't know much about this story. I'm not huge into historical films. I'm not a huge history guy. I don't know what it is.
That surprises me. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know. Ever since growing up, I've never liked history. I don't know. I mean, it might sound ignorant or just whatever, but I've just never been really big into history. I didn't see a trailer for it too. Honestly, I did not see a trailer, but I knew about the movie. I didn't do a ton of research on it. Sometimes I do like to go to a movie that, whether it's about history or true story, and just go in and say, okay, let me see how, like, the perspective if I know nothing. Right. If I know nothing, let's see if they made a good movie.
Right.
Because when you know the story, then you're expecting certain things to happen. You're not really getting it the way that they want to. You're not watching it the way they want to deliver it to you. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go in. I don't know anything about cars. I don't know anything about the story. I don't know anything about Ford really or Ferrari as far as history. Right. Obviously, I'm familiar with the companies, but not really their background or racing. So I'm like, let me just go in with that. So again, with you, I was shocked that it was just a really good movie. And I do like those. Like I said, the three actors that I named earlier, namely Christian Bale and Matt. I like John Berthal too.
Which
AKA
one was
Punisher.
John Berthal? The Punisher.
The
Yep.
Punisher. Yeah.
Yep.
The Punisher. So, so because of that, also obviously Ford is Detroit based. I'm in Detroit, so I was like, definitely want to do this film. Because there's a couple films out right now that kind of could have done. Harriet's out right now. It hasn't gotten good reviews, but
Black and Blue,
which you mentioned and someone else had mentioned to me within the last week that it was good. I didn't even know it was coming out, and two people have mentioned it to me now.
Great.
So I mean, there's a couple of different things, but I was like, you know what, this is getting some good pub, and I like these guys. So, Miss Christian Bale since Batman too. So the movie actually reminded me too. So again, this is not anything I knew before going in. But now getting into, when I'm actually watching and everything, it reminded me of a documentary I just watched for the first time this past week, Free Solo. So have you seen Free Solo?
No.
It's a must watch. So I'm not a huge documentary guy.
Really?
Not a huge...
You surprising me.
Right?
Todd.
I don't know what it is, but I'm not a huge... I don't hate documentaries. Now, history I just don't enjoy most of the time. Documentaries, I do like documentaries. I just don't, for whatever reason, I don't watch a ton of them. But if it's on something that I'm interested in, whatever. So Free Solo I watched. So for those of you who don't know what free soloing is, it's when you go rock climbing without any rope. It's just your hands and then you chalk. That's all you have. So it's just it's already a remarkable feat regardless. Right. No matter what rock you're climbing, the fact that you're climbing it without a rope and you're thousands of feet above ground is just
ready to die.
I mean, yeah, it's just like, literally. It's just like mind-boggling. But this guy, climbed El Capitan in Yosemite Park. First guy ever to free solo it. I mean, it's just it's one of those things that you watch and you can't believe what you're watching. So it was super inspiring. Like I said, probably the best documentary I've ever watched.
Did they show him walking or climbing? I mean,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, they show it. I mean, they show him practicing for it on other rocks and everything like that. I mean, his name's Alex. I can't remember what his last name is, but it was just super inspiring to see someone, like, he put all his energy, like everything he did in his life leading up to this point, like, was towards this. Like what he ate, what time he got it, where he lived during the year. Like, he lived in a van that was like all sustainable energy and all this. Like, everything he did was towards this one goal. So that just is super inspiring as someone who has like big goals and aspirations and things you want to do. Like, this is what it takes to kind of do something that no one else has done. Like, you have to go to a place like where you are sacrificing a ton of things and just putting everything towards this one thing. So that was super inspiring. And again, I think that you see that same kind of theme in this movie
100%.
where it's like, with Alex, when you're climbing a mountain 1,000 feet, it's either perfection or you die.
Right.
Like, if he makes one slip, he's falling, he's dying.
Right.
With this, it's a little different. Obviously, this guy ended up dying at the end.
Right.
Trying to get the perfect car, build it the perfect way. But I think that if you approach your goals as either I accomplish it or die trying, then you're probably going to be successful.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
If you approach it that way, you're gonna have more success than if you just look at it as like hopefully I do it. So that was inspiring. The cars though, when I was seeing the old cars at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking my RAV4 might be able to take some of these cars. Like, these old cars in the '60s, like I don't know, man. Like, I feel like I got pretty good, turn radius on mine.
They look thin. Like, they look like little Matchbox cars, literally, like ready to fly off of the ground.
Right.
For somebody like me, I wouldn't get behind the wheel like that because I would crash.
Yeah. I definitely wouldn't. You couldn't pay. And what's crazy is that I didn't think about this either. And they showed this in the first scene. You see, the only scene where you see Carroll Shelby racing is with his final race, where his heart rate was too high. He couldn't see straight, and he just kind of was done. Had some health issues. I never considered racers to have a high heart rate. Like, and I'm not big into NASCAR or professional racing, but I've never thought about that before until this film. And I said, wow, I guess if you are going 200 plus miles per hour, you probably are nervous.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You probably are like...
Yes, and you cooped up.
You're
on the
cooped up.
Driver's seat.
Yep.
Like the inside, I don't know if you've been able to see like the inside of a race car, but like it doesn't look anything like a regular car. Like everything's gutted out.
Yeah.
It's kind of
only on TV. I don't think maybe if I would have, I don't know if I've been a place or something like that where there was one at like a convention center or something like that. Probably being around Detroit, I probably have, and just not really paid much attention to it. But you're right, I've never really paid much attention to it till this movie. And I'm just looking. I mean, it was funny when they showed Mr. Ford, Henry Ford II, getting in it, and he was like all cramped up. But that was a good scene. But yeah, I just didn't realize how high your heart rate gets. Just probably one, again, you're cooped up, you're going at these high rates, and just sheer fear. Like just the fear of like, you make a wrong turn, this thing might blow up and it's over.
Even like clodding, like from a physical standpoint, like being in that position for so long, like the Daytona 500, that's 500 laps, you know?
Bro, that's crazy. That's
so
crazy.
Even from a physical standpoint, like I definitely didn't know that driving or like being a race car driver could take a physical toll on your body, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, when they break it down, it definitely makes sense. And I think they did a good job. Like you said, of going in and you're thinking, man, this is going to be about like racing and I don't know what's going on. But they did a good job of breaking it down in layman's terms for us that are going to go and watch, and we have no background in racing. You know what I mean? So, but we weren't confused. Like I wasn't confused at really any points or parts where I might have been confused. They, they explained it. They came through full circle. So, do you think NASCAR should be, or I guess it is considered a sport, but there's certain sports that I'm like, I don't know if that's a sport. Do you think this is a sport?
Yes, 100%.
I think so
100%.
now after this. I wouldn't, I think I would have said no before this movie, to be honest with you.
I mean, I don't know, it's one of those things where I feel like a lot of sports or a lot of things that people find controversial, like being brought into the sports topic, I consider it a sport. Like I think hustling is a sport, to be honest, because it's something that not everybody can do. Yeah, you know, you're in competition, maybe not directly, but you know, you're competing for the same resources as other companies or people. Right. Those types of things, and you have to find a way to like separate yourself and get what you need, which is essentially winning. Right. So like, I don't know, I'm one of those technical thin line people, you know. And I was looking at it from the athleticism standpoint. Like, do I have to use any athleticism for this? Which I think for both of those competitions, after this, I definitely saw it. Okay, you have to be able to understand angles. You have to have your hand-eye coordination. It's a lot of things that quick. You have to be quick. Yeah. Physical, because like you gotta think about it when that car first crashed. Like you remember when the guy was talking to Kevin's son, or the Lyle's son, and he said the reason why that one guy died in the fire was because he got stuck in the car. Yeah. So like that made me think, like Henry Ford, as big as he was, like, squeezing in.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been able to get out.
A race car driver can't be big. You gotta be fit enough.
That's true. That is true. So, you gotta be quick. Even if you're in the pit, you gotta be quick. You gotta move fast. You gotta be strong. So there's definitely aspects there. So with the actual story, it's funny because even though it's Ford, and even though Ford is like the hero of the story, as far as the company and just them winning, obviously, Ferrari is still today so much cooler. Like, you know what I mean? It's funny when I saw the title Ford versus Ferrari, I'm like, what? Like, I wouldn't put those two in the same. Like, Ferrari's like head and shoulders above. Like, and me not knowing much about cars, it's just where their brand is placed in our minds. Like, Ferrari is boom. It's not even like I'm Ferrari, Lamborghini. Like, that's what you think when you think of Rolls Royce, Ford, Toyota, GM, Chevy. That I don't even have them.
You got the cars that advertise and make commercials, and then you got the cars that go after a certain demographic. Yeah, that probably doesn't even watch TV, so they don't even pay for commercials. Right? Yeah, That's the difference.
So, I thought that was interesting too, just coming into it and seeing like, oh wow, they were on the same. They're competing at the same level, which they touch on, and like I said, Ford is the hero, but Ferrari, even during the movie, I'm like, they're even portrayed cooler. They're more like elegant. They're very arrogant, classy. It's kind of how I would describe them. Whereas Ford, they make it seem very American, where you're just very like pompous and gritty. The owner at Ford, when he gets insulted and just kind of classless. And
what did he say? He said, when Shelby asked him, like, are you ready? He said, what do you say, that name in the middle of the steering wheel to give you the answer.
Yeah, and he started crying. Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah, right. I was born ready. And start crying. I'm like, come on, man. So it's funny. It's what's crazy too is as I was watching this is how many ingenious things are literally birthed from just like pride or competition, especially in this country. I mean, we're a capitalistic society, so obviously it's all about competition. So I thought that was interesting too, to watch and be like, wow, like, I wasn't familiar with the story before, but for those who might have been before, it's crazy how like them winning these competitions or them even pitting against Ferrari is literally was a pride thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I looked up like kind of some of the fact versus fiction for the movie after the fact, and a lot of it. The really cool thing about this movie is that they stuck to a lot of the actual, like even some of the dialogue was exactly how it happened.
Okay.
So that's kind of dope too to watch, and it wasn't a lot of fluff, and it makes you appreciate the story that much more. Like, wow, this is really like. Even the ending, like how like he told him to slow down and he ended up losing. Like that's really what happened. So like that's just crazy that's like that doesn't even sound like that sounds like something that you can make up, but it's like that's straight up like
and it's real.
And so that was cool. And again, how they literally like how they tried to acquire Ferrari, and when Ferrari didn't, they were pissed and they decided to race him. Like that's actually how the story happened, which is crazy.
I saw that too, and I thought it was slick. I thought it was slick how when he first got out of the car, like he knew exactly what they were doing. Like, you remember he said no pictures, like please no pictures. Yeah, and they're telling him like no, this is just for history. Yeah, you know, he knew exactly what they were trying to do, and then as soon as they got those pictures, they didn't get the number that he wanted. They did.
Smart, man. I mean, it's business, man. It's crazy. It's like that's a competitor, so like. They're gonna do it like it's no love there, man. It's like they don't owe you anything. I don't know. I mean, I come from the place of, you know, you treat people with respect and you do things with integrity, no matter what. Because my thought is, if you don't, then it'll come back to you. Right. But you have to be aware that like not everyone operates that way. Most people don't operate that way. Right. So like you have to be careful.
Most definitely. My thing is, at the end of the day, as long as you're staying true to what you know that you need to be doing. You can't control what anybody else does. It's just, you know, as long as you're handling business, it'll work out.
And obviously we see today, like, Ford didn't take a huge hit from not getting Ferrari. Right. You know what I mean? So, I mean, obviously the automotive industry isn't where it was at previously, but I think that's across the board. I don't think that's just Ford. Also, when they offered, you know, they were telling Kim Miles, like, yo, we want you to come work on this or whatever, and they said, we'll write you a blank. Or no, and then when they try to get Shelby at first, it's like, we'll write you a blank check. Yo, he's like, I gotta think about it. No, I ain't gotta think about it. If you write me a blank check, I don't have to think about anything. I don't care what the job is, man. Like,
but again, like I feel like that speaks to the journey that he had been on from like, when he first started to that point.
That's true, yeah.
Because to be offered a blank check and then you're telling the person that's trying to give you that money, like, hold on, I want you to understand what this means. Like, you're not just buying a win. Like, a win, money will not guarantee something like that. Like, what you're doing is you're buying my trust, my time, for me to put the right pieces and people in place to make it happen for you. So I think just in him being confident in that moment, getting the kind of money that people dream of, and still being like, I want you to understand like what this means for you and like our relationship. For me, like I want to be like that. You know what I'm saying? I want to be just like that when that time comes and that situation comes around. To where there's a company that's like, look, we like what you have. You know, here's a blank check. Like, come help us make this happen. You know, I want to have that same kind of confidence that he did.
Right, exactly. I'm gonna get it to Sean. Sean, if you want to peace out, you can take. Oh, you good? All right, bro. If you do, you got the key right there. Sorry for the listeners. But yeah, no, I think the movie was really good. How they how even if you didn't really have a background in racing or anything like that, or a huge interest in history like myself, you still really appreciate it. And back to the blank check thing, I think it's dope to be paid for like what you're good at, and without even seeking it. So like that has to be a really good feeling when you get to the point where you're so good at something that people are just seeking you out, trying to give you money, or like whether it's consulting advice if you're an entrepreneur or something like that. Helping other companies make it, but you know, or even Kim Miles. Like Ken was just a dude who was just living. Like he just essentially, I mean, obviously he had his own business, but like
he wasn't even paying taxes.
He wasn't even paying taxes, so the business was about to be lost. And just off of being a good racer, like you have people coming to you just like Ford, like, yo, we want you to be our guy. I mean, obviously there was like some disagreements there or whatever, but just to be that good at something.
Denied. When you're that good at something, like, people can give all the friction in the world, but at the end of the day, they can't deny you.
Man, cream always rises to the top. I believe that's so true. And I mean, you hear that all the time, like growing up playing sports and things. Obviously, I know you play sports even at the collegiate level, so you know you've heard that. But you know, it always, you know, I think sometimes, sure, you have, you know, as what's so famously put as politics, you know, in sports and in high school, where the, you know, the principal's kids, you know, get to start, and you feel like you should start. Let's put it like this: if you a baller, you gonna play. Right. And if you're a baller, you're gonna get looked at by college. And you know, I mean, there's not LeBron isn't where he's at because his coach was nice to him. No, he was good. So
and he's not where he's at because he went to Duke.
Yeah, the right school. College. Yeah, right, exactly. So it's like I promise you, man, you'll make it. And something else, not to get off too much of a tangent here, but I think people, especially when it gets to the collegiate level, when people are like, man, politics, there's not politics. It's the politic that runs the college level is just like any other business, money.
Right.
A coach wants to keep his job. So if a coach wants to keep his job, he's going to put the best players on the field to help him keep his job. He don't care if he just likes your personality or you're funny. Bro, if you are good,
some of them do.
Some it's gonna be some of that. If it's close, sure. If it's close, sure. But if you got a dude who's a baller,
right,
and you got a dude who's a scrub, but you like the scrub, nah.
Right.
That might slide just like a little bit, but when it's heat on you and you trying to win and your job is in question,
they're gonna put the best 11 out there.
They got to. You'll be at some point, again, that can happen, but at some point you're forced, if you're not naturally a dude who does that, you're gonna be forced to where you got to put the best dudes out there.
Right.
You got a job. You got too much money on
or get lost.
Yeah. And then you see that, and it's like, yeah, you do see sometimes where it's like, man, dude, overlooked me, or dude didn't give me the right, and it's like, yo, you just got to get that much. You got to get that much better.
It's just something that happens, not even just in sports, like with being great, period. Like, there's so many people that want the same thing,
Yeah.
And I don't know, and knowing that you have to, within yourself, not want to fall short in any area.
Yeah.
Because it's like, once you reach a certain age, like, people don't push you as much as they used to.
It's up to you.
And so, like, if you aren't spending those times getting your mind right, like, you'll find yourself lost.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I thought that was dope to see. Like, Ken was just like he said in the movie, he's pure driver, just a pure dude. That's all he cares about. Even when he didn't get to go, and I don't know if I could say I do the same, but even when they didn't pick him to go, like, kind of last minute to go drive the first time around, how he still was working on the car, still telling them, like, this is what you got to do. This is like, he was a team player.
10 toes. It's important.
I mean, he was in it, and I think it was maybe less about the guys, maybe some about, I don't want to take anything from him or his legacy. But, the way the story was portrayed is almost like he just loved the sport. He just loved racing and cars that much that, of course I want to be out there and I feel jaded, but, like, I love this too much to not give it my all. So, like, that was dope to see. And the story, I felt like, even at points where it kind of went through, peaks and valleys like anything in life does, the story didn't slow down. So, it's a 2.5 hour movie. Like I said, seeing that when I was going to the theater, I'm like, this is a little long. And, my threshold for movies a lot of times is like 2 hours, 10 minutes. Now, sometimes with these superhero movies, they go 3 hours and stuff like that, which, is long, but I'm a superhero guy, and as long as action, all right, I can rock with you most of the time. But they kept me engaged the entire movie.
100%.
Entire movie.
Same thing, to piggyback on that, when, they told him that he couldn't go out initially to race. It's one of those things where it's like, well, that you're the chosen one, it's like eventually it's going to happen for you. So it's like, 100%. If that wasn't the moment, I feel like deep down he knew that his time was coming.
It was going to come, and it's going to, again, cream rise to the top. Where, again, it was political. That was straight up, he's not a Ford guy. You know what I mean? So he did get snubbed. Like, the coach did put in the other guy who was less. But eventually, when it's enough heat and enough losing,
you gonna win.
You know what I mean?
You gotta think he not only is he a race car driver, but he built the car that they're trying to put other people in. It's like, what are you doing?
Crazy. Crazy. And I'm like, yeah, it's gonna if enough money's at play, enough reputations on the line, you're gonna switch it around.
Most definitely.
So Ford, I thought the way they positioned Ford in this movie was really interesting. One thing about just large companies in general. So the note that they kind of made that when you're trying to get something passed, or whether it's an idea or a product or something like that, how it can just be exhausting going through so many different channels and it has to be approved by so many different levels. So that, I thought that was a funny commentary on large companies. I've worked for large companies as well as mostly smaller companies as well. I've worked for, my very first company I worked for when I went to ESPN was when I went to Vegas was through ESPN. And obviously huge company. Like, I was in a subsidiary called ESPN Events. So that's its own outfit that's under ESPN. And obviously, like, there's so many different channels.
Right.
So many different channels. Even though I'm in a small office of, 5 people working, so many different channels to get to the top. And then I've worked from that job. I went to a place and went to a startup that had been around 3 years, and it was only 14 of us. 6 people on my team. So I've seen both sides where, when to Zenith, that was 100 around 100 employees. So I've seen it at a lot of different places, and their grass is always greener. You know, there's good and plus. You know, when the smaller you have more creative input and more say, and you know, you have a bigger chance of changing things quicker too. And meaningful change. On a larger company, you have more stability, so you don't have as much of a say, but
stuck in tradition.
Yeah, you know, it's stuck in tradition. But you know, you don't have to worry if the company's gonna be there in a year or two. You know it is. Like, you know what I mean? You know that, you know, there's some stability, there's systems already in place. There's more organization. Which people do want stability. People want organization. But you also want your voice to be heard, especially if you're naturally an entrepreneur or a creator at heart.
And I can say, like, being in the business space, I know, like, for businesses, I feel like, especially one like Ford that's been around for so long, I feel like that kind of corporate structure grows over time. And the thing that is one of my pet peeves in business is like when I try to work with other startups. And it's like you can tell they're trying to inject a corporate culture into their business. So it's like it's 10 of you. Right? Or not even. Let's say it's 6 of you. But you're sending me to go through 3 other people. It's like, who do you think you are? You know, it's like we're all trying to build, we're all trying to grow and get to a certain place. And so like that's one of my pet peeves. Like when people they believe so much in like tradition and like that corporate culture that instead of, you know, adding some flavor, like being true to themselves, it's like, all right, this worked for Ford, this worked for all these other companies, you know, so it'll work for me. But it's like Ford, I'm sure they didn't bring that corporate culture into place until they were, I don't know how many millions of dollars in profit, you know, 10 years in, 20 years in, it just happens naturally. So.
I think that's good. That's very interesting how, it's funny how, you know, again, you've seen not worked for them, but have dealt with and worked with and met with probably a ton of different startups, and just whether it's conferences or just networking. So that's interesting to hear, because I think that, sometimes you do get that where, and it's really a cultural thing and less about the number of people. You know, like you just said, I think, because I've had places where, you know, not to go through just each of the places I worked in, like name names of the people, but like I've had
come after you, man.
be like, what? I mean, it's all I'm about to say is positive, but for the most part, but I've had super small companies where you feel like the CEO is super unapproachable, right? And then I had companies where mid to large size where I can text the CEO right now, you know what I mean, and say, yo, you want to get coffee next week? So it's, again, part of that is relationship, and then also just the culture that they start. It starts at the head. So how do you establish this culture? Do you feel like there's 20 channels to get to you, or you're this unapproachable like being that's not really a part of, you know, the day-to-day? So I think there's a balance there, and then again, just finding it yourself. And also what's very interesting too is how I've been in situations where the CEO or the person running the company started it with their own money and their own sweat and tears versus they stepped into that role. And it's different. It's different. I'm not going to say good, better, whatever. I do have an opinion on if it's good, bad, or whatever, but I would just say that it's different. It's different, man.
Do you think it's good, bad, or better?
I personally think that that if you start it, if it's you just have more at stake. Like we said, I mean, like we were talking about, like free soloing. When it's life or death for you, you're gonna put more into it. So same way, if your assets are on the line and your family's name is on the door and you have to feed your kids, and if this doesn't work out, then you're going bankrupt and you lose your house and your mortgage, versus just being a CEO who's in that role, and if you get fired, you just go on and find something else. You have no stake in the company.
Probably another executive role.
Executive role. You just become CEO or CMO or COO at some other place, and you just miss out on a check for a month, but you have a ton of savings. You're going to treat it differently, naturally, even if you don't think you are. Just natural instincts.
It's it's those sacrifices, just like how we were talking beforehand about, you know, it takes certain sacrifices to build something, especially a business, especially when you're going into a certain industry like automotive or like technology. You know, it takes certain sacrifices in order to figure out how to get possibly from point A to point B. It's like once you figure that out, you got to figure out how to make the plan clear cut, like at every single point along the journey. And it's like that takes a team of people just to keep your mind right.
Absolutely. Know? So I think that I think that you're gonna give it more if the CEO is the person who started it initially. Then you might get to a point where you're just on the board and you have, you know, and you have another operating CEO eventually or something like that. You know, that might be a place that you get to. I don't know, but
that's a milestone.
That is a milestone for sure. So But yeah, I honestly feel like, yeah, man, that grind that you, especially when it's in its beginning stages, that grind of just having someone that it's like your back is against the wall, like this is all you. I mean, you think about like certain artists, like the rappers who like their album is their first album is their best album. Like Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt, like he's talked about like how he's like no album will beat that because like he's like that was my life's work, like everything I put into that, like I put all this money into it myself, like it was succeed at this or like you're not eating, like that was all that went into the album.
Right.
So by the time you get to Blueprint 3, you're not as hungry. You're not as, you know what I mean? So not to discount, I mean, obviously he has like 10, 11 number one albums, so.
And the Blueprint 3 was still a hit.
Still fire. Yeah, still fire. And, but, you know, even 444 is fire. But he's in a whole different place.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? But still, he's like, man, nothing will beat the grind that I have for Reasonable Doubt. So I think that same thing, I mean, when your back is against the wall and it's like, you gotta, like, this has to pop. This has to pop. This ain't the first. This is the first franchise. This ain't the 5,000th one that you've put up nationwide, and it's kind of like this flop, and I got 4,999 other ones. It's different. So it's different. But back to Ford though. Back to the movie. I could go on talking about business and entrepreneurial stuff all day. I love those conversations, but. With Ford, I thought it was interesting how they portrayed them. There's a lot of jokes poked at Ford in this movie, and just how they portrayed Henry Ford II. Like, it was to the point where I was like, it stuck out so much because it wasn't a super humorous film. Like, it was funny parts. Just like any movie has aspects of all different types. Like, there's always, if a good movie most of the time is going to have some type of romance. So you have he and his wife and their relationship. There's going to have some type of suspense. Obviously, with each race, you're on the edge of your seat what's about to happen, especially if you didn't know the story. So, there's that, but and there's always a little bit of humor. So I thought they fitted in there nicely. Even the relationship between Ken and Carol. Yeah. That was like they had they were like brothers. You know what I mean? They really had a brotherly relationship. So it was just funny to see them poking at each other and just had a good relationship. But the joke specifically at Ford, Ford was the only entity that I felt like was portrayed negatively in this. I feel like everyone else pretty much had a good rap. No one was flawless, even Ken, right? Who was kind of the hero of the story. He wasn't without flaws, but he was an endearing character. Very early on in the film, you're like, yo, I like this dude. You liked him. You wanted to see him do well. You wanted to see him succeed. Same thing with Carol. You kind of had swag to him. You liked him. You were rooting for him.
Yeah, a whole lot of swag.
But Ford was the only entity, and then Leo Beebe, who is the guy who dude was Snake. You just the whole time Rico. You're watching them, and you're just like, man, I don't rock with Ford.
Rico.
Yeah, right. Rico. Literally. So you just didn't rock with him. So I thought that was interesting that this American-made movie, I think it shows what the racing community, or at least this director, thinks of that situation. Right. So you know that, okay, Ford must have really been looked at negatively in the racing community from that situation. If we're in America, we're in Detroit, and they made this movie, you know. And I mean,
and also one thing I remember, like, they made emphasis on the fact that Ford wanted to stay out of racing. Like, he didn't see any benefit in building a race car at all, and trying to go over there and compete. He found a clear-cut way, like a niche, to build a product and get it out to the consumer the quickest way possible. And that was bringing in money. Like, I remember the key thing when they brought in Carroll Shelby for like their sit-down meeting, and the guy Leo, he kept saying, like, why should we build a race car? He said no other car company puts out nearly as many cars as we do. What do you say Ferrari builds, or we build in one day what Ferrari builds in a year? And it's like, and Ken hit the point on the head. It's like, it's not about how many you can put out. It's like people buy Ferraris and they can mark up those prices just because of the intricacy, like the care that goes into it.
And like what are now boomers, which is funny because there's so many jokes around boomers now, but what were then boomers, they're like, they're teens at the time. They're like, they want the cool thing. They want so it's just funny how the same tricks and the same, with whether it's marketing or advertising,
it's still around today.
It's the same, man. It's just different, different avenues, and it's just something new. But there's the tactics and everything, the fundamentals behind it is still the exact same.
I'm telling you, we're living in the movie, bro.
Right. But yeah, man, I thought that was interesting. It's funny too with the Mustang. So like I said, the Mustang is kind of like the car that I grew up like. I want a Mustang when I get older. It was like I want a convertible Mustang. It's like what I thought was like the dopest car. And it's funny how my view on it after seeing the history behind it is different. Where it's like they, Carol Shelby and Kim Miles were looking at it like, man, this thing is like when Kim just ripped it apart.
Oh yeah.
Like, man, this thing is trash, blah blah blah. And Leo Beebe thought it was like the next hot thing, and he just ripped it, and that made me look at it differently. But the following Mustang models, I did look up. Ken Miles and Carol Shelby did go and they did together a lot of the models. So now like the Shelby, I kind of want to get now because like I saw the movie, so now I want to get the Mustang Shelby. So that was dope. And then just like I said, the goosebumps you have watching this movie. Like I'm watching the Daytona race, and like I'm on the edge of my seat. Like I want him to win so that he can then get to the 24-hour race.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
So I'm watching that, and it's at nighttime and everything. So it's just they did a really good job of just keeping you engaged. Again, it wasn't just racing and we don't know what's going on, but the acting, I think also you just remember like, man, like Christian Bale's a good actor. If you forgot, Christian Bale's a really good actor. Yes. Man, that dude, even with the accent, like he killed it. It was that's one of the hardest things. I mean, I just saw, what did I just see with someone had an accent? What did I see? Was it Will? Why did I see?
Well, Idris Elba, he plays that American accent like
amazing.
Yeah, he sounds like he's from the South.
Idris Elba is an amazing actor too. He's an underrated actor. I feel like like he should be in more big things than what he is.
100%.
But yeah, man, Christian Bale, man, he did a really good job. I wouldn't be shocked if he got some award nominations for this.
Yeah, I mean, it's overall like this movie really caught me off guard because I really thought there was just going to be shoving like racing and cars and all of this stuff like down your throat, but it's really a movie about how to come up. Like you can take this as a blueprint. If you're somebody who's already on a journey, or like you wake up every day and like you tell yourself like I want to get on this journey, it's just a good movie to watch and like have on your list because like you said, it gives you goosebumps. And then like to know that it's a true story and like they stuck to the script for the most part. I mean, I'm somebody, I don't need to see too many things like that in order for me to know like what I can do, honestly.
What's possible. And it's like everyone has their own gifts and talents and like their own purpose. And I think that I really do believe that everyone has their own unique purpose. I think unfortunately there's a ton of people, majority of people who never know who never find that out, and they go through life doing stuff that they're probably not like meant to do.
It's because they're focused on money. Those people that do that, they're focused on money. Like if somebody makes their goal to get rich, as soon as they get, as soon as they get 100,000, it's like they good. It's like how can you tell somebody that's never had any money before, whose goal is to get rich? Like nah, turn down this. Because it's something bigger. It's like people sell themselves short all the time. That's why I feel like.
All the time. So I think that it's just cool to see again stories like this where it's like, all right, this dude's gonna do something that no one else has ever done, and he just knew. He knew like this is what I'm meant to do. Like it was no hesitation, and
it wasn't about the money with him either.
No, he didn't care about that. I mean, obviously he had to take care of bills, and like it was funny, like when he told his wife, she's like how much they have to pay you this time, and he was like it's $200 a day, and she was like, and you still thinking about it? Like you don't go back and tell him you gotta so that part was super funny. But yeah, but the fact that this dude was broke, he's losing his business, didn't pay taxes, and they offered him essentially a blank check, but $200 a day, where he was previously not getting paid at all to race, and they're paying him $200 a day just to test out and work on the car. And he had to think about it just because of his love and his integrity to make sure that was all intact in the sport. Like, again, it shows what kind of dude he was. So, again, there was a lot of really good messages in this, regardless of if you love cars or hate cars. Just in general. Like I said, I was hyped to see the Punisher in this. That presentation.
I love him in all movies,
bro. He's dope. Yeah, I rock with him. And his presentation, like back where you were saying when he made the marketing presentation, talking about why they need to get into racing. It made me think, what's the worst presentation you've had?
Okay. The worst presentation.
I'll say as an adult. So college on.
Oh, okay.
Like whether it's like a class presentation or even for your business, what's the worst presentation you've ever had?
I don't even know if I want to say.
Or second worst. You don't want to say the worst.
Oh no, it might be a little too embarrassing. I mean, there just been times, I can't call specifically other than one. But there have just been times where, like, I get in front of people. I'm a fairly confident person. I'm just one of those people where if there's something that needs to be done and like I'm needed to do it, I'll do it. Even if I'm nervous beforehand, it's like at this point in time, it's time to go. Like it's time to go.
Yeah.
And whatever happens, happens. But there have been times where, you know, I get up there and I forget words or like I forget what I'm supposed to say.
Yeah.
There was one time where we were doing presentations in college, and I was like ultimately distracted. So it was before I was going.
Yeah.
And I had like a gum wrapper.
Yeah.
Like a little foil gum wrapper.
Yeah.
And at Michigan State, you know, they had some of those desks that had outlets in them.
Yeah.
And so like the people before me, they're giving their presentation, right? And I'm supposed to go afterwards. And I'm bored, so I'm twiddling with this gum wrapper, and I just kind of sit it in the outlet. I'm not thinking anything.
Yeah.
Which is dumb, but I'm not thinking anything. Kind of sit it in there, and then I'm like flicking it up, and then it finally goes in there, and then like the thing blows up, all the lights go out,
No.
It starts flickering, and then the teacher, Mandy, it was the athletic class that we had to take.
Oh man,
she's she's red in the face, she's mad, just staring at me.
Oh, she knew it was you.
Well, I mean, the outlet in front of me was smoking, so it was nobody else but me. And she still let me go afterwards, but I messed up my presentation as a whole. Like,
I love Mandy. I shout out to Mandy.
She's alright. Yeah, she's cool.
He said she's alright. Man, I wouldn't have made it through college without Mandy. Would not have made it through, man.
Well, she switched me to Elliot really quickly.
Yeah, right.
She switched me.
She said, forget that. Yeah, no, she. That's my academic angel. I wouldn't have made it through. But the ending, man. The end of this movie. Like I said, it's their real story, but it pissed me off, man. That was rough.
Yes, I was. Oh, you talking about when when the car blew up in the end? Or
no,
or
man, that hurt. I mean, that hurt, but just like him losing.
Oh,
when they found out he lost, them telling him to slow down, man. That has to be the lamest. Like,
it's like I had so much to say about that part. For one, like in the end, like Carol Shelby was a good friend. But there were points in time where he should have been a real brother. And like,
you should have stuck up for him,
Yeah, when you got somebody like Ford that's coming in and trying to wedge their way between a relationship with somebody that you've had or like known prior to whatever it is that you're working on, it's like you have to, at the end of the day, like think about who it is that you're loyal to or like where your loyalty stands behind. And I feel like there were definitely moments to where, you know, he brought it up in the question, especially the first time, like when they told him last minute that Ken couldn't go in the race. He should have been like, no, like put his foot down. But I also understand it's early on, so he did what he had to do. Mm-hmm. When they tell him to throw the race, to slow down.
And that's the thing is that at that point he had built up enough clout and they had done enough to where it's like enough is enough. Like I'm sorry, like I don't care if you ban me from XYZ, like I have to be a man and have integrity here for it. Like you have to stand up for him. Like again, that's his boy. And especially when Ken is so reliable. Like you've dissed Ken now. Like you've put him in a position in two different scenarios. The first time where he literally didn't get to go. The second time where he still had to do a race to prove himself to go, which is crazy that he had to prove himself. He already proved himself. So you put him in that situation two times. And he's still rocking with you. Like, he still came back.
Without question.
Like, so the fact that...
It was even a thought.
A thought of, like, all right, now we've gotten to this point. He's worked to get here.
He won.
Because
the race was over.
The race is over. Now I'm about to tell him, hey, I know you won, but, like, you know what I mean? So that makes you just respect Ken so much more. Because even through all that, he was still like, you know what? I'm not going to put my boy out there the same way he's putting me out there. So I'm going to go one more lap, break my own record, and I'm going to slow it down.
And got played. And got
played. So that I mean, that's one of the most heartbreaking endings to a story. Obviously, there's other endings that aren't favorable, but I don't know if I've ever seen a real story that ended so rough. Like, it wasn't dramatized. It's like, dang, like that really happened. I looked it up to be like, dang, that really is how they did him.
And to know that they still like did business together after that.
Yeah.
Like, that speaks to his character.
Right? And his love for how much he loved cars and doing what he did. So
I couldn't, especially the way that they trusted each other. Even now, the fight happened before that, right?
Yeah.
The fight happened before this. They fought.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you're close friends with somebody, even like have that brotherly relationship, you know, it comes those points in times where you might get into like an argument. Some people even physical altercation, like that's normal for them. But at that point, you know, there's no turning back. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? You just move forward. Beyond that point, it can't get any worse than that.
Right.
Than throwing hands.
Right.
But honestly, with him asking his mans like to throw the race that he already won.
Right.
After that, Racer put everything like in him on the line to make everybody look good.
Right.
It's just one of those things where it's like, man, I can't rock. Even the fact that you would ask me that, like, I cannot rock with you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and like you said, he said I shouldn't even ask you. And it's like, bro, you already did it. Now the damage is done now. And the way he still played it cool, like, it is what it is. Like, I'm like, bro, he couldn't. There's no way he acted like that back in like.
Might have been like, get off.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, don't talk to me. Don't even look, bro.
Me.
Don't even look at me. Don't show up in my crib no more. Like, I don't want you talking to my son. Like, nothing.
Nothing.
But that's crazy. But like I said, the movie, man, this has to be one of the most entertaining, if not the most entertaining, 2.5 hour movie you'll see this year, man.
Facts.
Like I said, I got goosebumps at different points just because the competition. I mean, it's like the same goosebumps you get like watching like a replay of like a classic game on like on ESPN Classic or something like that. So, I don't know if he's a better driver than Lightning McQueen if you've seen the Cars movies on Disney, but he's up there, man. I put him up there in the same conversation with Lightning McQueen. But no, for real though, really really good movie. Yeah, man, it was crazy. It's horrible way he went out as far as dying. I mean, obviously losing that race, but then dying. But he went on again. I did some research and just to see how respected he is in the community, and how he's held as one of the greatest. He's still the only one who won it in that fashion,
right,
with 4. So that's just dope, man.
And I also saw they went to win like 4 straight.
Yeah, they went 4 straight. I'm like, bro, and it hasn't been done since. Like 4 hasn't won since.
I don't think any American cars are.
Is that what it said? It might have said that.
I thought that's what it said.
Yeah, it probably did. It probably did.
Wrong.
So that again, just it's just a great story, man. I like when the right stories are chosen to be made into biopics. Because I think sometimes they choose the wrong stories, or they choose the right person, but then they shed a negative light.
The wrong way.
So yeah, they portrayed it really wrong. So like I did, we reviewed Judy earlier this year, and I thought that Judy Garland film, who is most famous at least in our generation for. Well, the movie didn't come out in our generation, but obviously everyone knows what Wizard of Oz is. Oh yeah. So she's Dorothy in Wizard of Oz. But
I was in that play, kindergarten. I was the Oz. I was the Oz.
So man has a special connection with Wizard of Oz, but no, man, like that's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I just felt, not to go on a whole thing about that movie because obviously I did that review, but I just felt like they portrayed her really wrong, and they showed all the negative parts of her life as opposed to all the great accomplishments she had. So I feel like in this one they did a really good job of showing that, hey, these guys weren't perfect, but they were amazing men, and let's respect their legacy.
And you don't have to be perfect.
You don't have to be perfect.
Be great.
Yeah. So no one's perfect.
Like
no human being is perfect. Yeah.
You can end up like Shelby, the dude who made one of the nicest cars. Everybody knows about the Shelby Cobra.
Yeah.
Like you can end up with that kind of legacy, like being a staple in history, not being perfect, like not starting off with everything, being attacked by the IRS, like they closing your business down, wife mad at you, your son upset. You can still take that situation and like turn it into something that nobody else can for real.
Yeah. So it was an amazing movie. What would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10?
What goes into this criteria, bro? I'm real technical.
Oh, it's completely up to you. It's whatever I don't have like a rubric.
Is this like as far as
how much? It's really how much you enjoy. Like I go based off of like how I like enjoyed it.
I mean, I'll give it at least an 8. I'll give it like an 8.5 for real.
Yeah, we right around the same. I give it an 8.6.
I want to watch it. I mean, it's definitely a movie that I feel like I could watch again. That's kind of what I base it off of. There's a lot of movies that come out that I think are good, but like I don't think I could sit through watching it again.
Agreed, yeah. So I thought this was good, man. I thought, like I said, 8.6 out of 10 is what I give it. I'd say it's worth going to see opening night. Like I always give, whether it's opening night, $5 Tuesday, Netflix, or don't watch it all. And I definitely say if you go see it opening night, it's worth the money. You will stay in there. You won't feel like you wasted your money.
I agree.
So really good movie. Upcoming movies you're excited about?
Upcoming. So, all right, so there's one that just came out, though. I don't know if that counts.
Oh, no. Any movie you haven't seen that you're looking forward to seeing?
Oh, so there's Dolomite. Dolomite is my name movie. It's out on Netflix.
Okay.
I know that's a movie that I have been seeing a lot, like online, and I saw people talking about it. But to be real, I saw the original Dolomite movie from the 70s.
Yeah.
And I saw the cast of this Dolomite movie.
Yeah.
And it did not make me want to watch it. Like, I saw Eddie Murphy supposed to be Dolomite.
Yeah.
I saw Mike Epps was in it. I saw the dude from Hot Tub Time Machine was in it.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I don't know if you've seen Dolomite, but
no.
it's a real, like, it's one of those blaxploitation pimp.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Dolomite, he was a pimp, like, 1970s to the degree.
Yeah.
It's like, when I see Eddie Murphy doing it, I'm like, this does not add up. Like, it doesn't add up for me. So I passed it for about a week straight, and then someone who I follow as an entrepreneur, he actually put it out as number 2 on his list.
Oh wow!
For movies for people to see.
Okay.
That are on the entrepreneurial journey. So it's I watched it. It's really, really, really good. I think you should watch it.
Wow.
Too.
Okay. All right.
I think you'll like it.
Okay.
That movie. Then I would suggest people to go see Black and Blue. I also just saw that like a week ago.
Yeah.
But it's another one of those movies, like, it touches on police brutality and like how it's real and like prevalent, but it goes so much deeper than that. Like, it's not one of those movies where it's just like, I guess, kind of shoving that down your throat, but it kind of shows really what, I can't say really what goes on in police stations, because I'm not a police officer or anything like that. Never have been. I don't know anybody that is, but it makes sense of the corruption, I guess, kind of that's going on, and it kind of shows the power that they have, you know, as far as, you know, just being able to control a narrative over an individual person that they might not even know. You know, so I think it's one of those good movies. It's not gonna make you crazy sad or anything like that, because that's my thing with Black Lives Matters movies, and like this one, I didn't want it to be like a Fruitvale Station.
Yeah, where you just get pissed off. Yeah,
I couldn't watch it again. Like, I have the movie and everything. I can't watch it more than the one time that I did. But Black and Blue's not that. Like, high action. It shows that people are on BS, but you can also come out on top. So.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay. The Banker is mine. The story of the first African American bankers in the United States. So Samuel L. Jackson and Anthony Mackie. So that looks really good. Look up the trailer. I've seen the trailer a couple times now, just in the theaters. Again, good story. I love seeing, you know, obviously it's good to just see diversity in general. Obviously, being a black male, it's good to see 2 black men who started the first African American bank in the United States. And
seeing people like us just...
It's a real story.
Yeah, seeing people like us in industries that
it's
like
cool,
we're
man.
not typically in. Dominating.
Yeah, so like seeing that history, again, you know, like I said, I'm not huge on history, but this seems like a really good story and a positive one. So, I hate seeing, you know, real stories on African Americans that are negative, whether it's like slavery or, you know, just this discrimination. Now, obviously, this is going to deal with discrimination. Obviously, they're, you know, they've even touched on that. They actually had a white guy front as their proxy, basically, when making some of these deals, so that they were able to get into the door.
I did that before.
That's funny.
I had to do that a couple of times.
That's a shame. That is a shame that you still had to do that, man. But it's real. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So. So yeah, man. But that's it. That's all. Appreciate you coming up here, man.
I thank you for having me, man. I'm telling you, I was waiting.
Yeah,
I was waiting.
No, I'm happy that you that I enjoyed the film too. I think we both were like, I don't know what I knew it was a big movie, but I was like, you know, I don't know what it's gonna be about. It's a race car. I don't know anything about race cars, but it was a real good movie, and I appreciate you coming up. So it was good catching up, and thank you all for listening. Until next week, peace.